There are no heroes in The Last of Us. It's a world filled with cruelty and ugliness on all sides, where even the once most pure-hearted of people are pushed into unimaginable darkness. The Fireflies are no exception to this, although they are certainly initially framed as a rebellious faction fighting to try and return the world to normal. But in reality, they're nothing more than a cult that believes in a false hope instead of a false god. There's nothing in the world I hate more than fascists. Well, maybe bigots, but they tend to be one and the same. So when a fascist power seizes control, revolution is an acceptable option to fight back against oppression. However, said revolutionaries actually need to be competent and have a definitive plan to take back control of their land. The Fireflies are a completely idiotic rebel movement that has no actual plan on how to protect the country they're trying to save. What evidence do I have for this? We've never seen them in control. Maybe they would allow their citizens to have freedom again. Well, if you do a bit of The Last of Us's trademark scavenging, you'll learn that Pittsburgh was liberated by the Fireflies. However, once a much weaker governing force was in place, the citizens immediately rebelled against their allies and forced the Fireflies out of the city, and it became a lawless zone inhabited by sociopathic murderers. So even if the Fireflies liberated a quarantine zone from Fedra, they have no realistic way to actually govern or protect the city from the depraved and desperate lunatics harbored within their walls. But you might be thinking, well, the Fireflies may want Fedra gone, but their real goal is finding a cure for the infected and returning the world to normal. No, it's not. They had no idea that a cure was even possible until Ellie's immunity became apparent, which happened 20 years after the outbreak. If their real goal all along was finding a cure, then they wouldn't be a group of rebel soldiers, they'd be a team of scientists who would probably be working with the government and their resources to find a cure. And sure, they might have toiled away in the background for 20 years, making no progress whatsoever until a miracle is dropped on their doorstep, but that just goes to show further incompetence that after 2 decades, they have nothing to show for their work. Hell, I'd be shocked if they could even have synthesized a vaccine from Ellie, and then Joel would have really slaughtered them. So the original goal of the Fireflies was the liberation of the people from Fedra's rule, and in the real world, this can be a feasible objective, as when the fascist government is disposed, you may have geographical neighbors to assist in putting your nation back together. But a small rebel movement can't possibly hope to govern a society that has been drained of all empathy and is under constant threat from a ravenous fungus. Put simply, the Fireflies' end goal is unattainable because the world they envision isn't one they can hope to maintain. It's impossible for you to look for the light when you'll never achieve your dreams. They're just terrorists wreaking havoc because in a hopeless world, this is all they can do to feel like they still matter. But do you want to know what the worst part of the Fireflies' plan is? It can work, but not with them. Seattle is by no means a decent place to live in the apocalypse, and you're still at the risk of fanatical cultists and brutal murderers, but there's structure and order. There are free meals and an education system. There are jobs and a purpose there. It's not glamorous, but it's still a way to live. So what's the difference between the WLF and the Fireflies? Why is Seattle habitable, but Pittsburgh is dystopian? Because it was the people who took back Seattle, and not morons with a savior complex. The WLF just wanted Seattle, and not even all of it, just the locations they could manage to hold. They had no delusions of grandeur about creating a utopia, they just wanted to live free from oppression. They set a realistic goal and made calculated and tactical steps to achieve it, and got the people on their side because they were the people. The Fireflies situated themselves within Pittsburgh. They took the city because they wanted Fedra gone, then they would be in charge and the people would swap out one ruler for another. To quote a note within Pittsburgh, "I definitely won't take orders from some Firefly leader all the way on the other side of the country. Before the fighting ends, I suggest we rid ourselves of them. This is our city, our people. I don't see why we can't rule ourselves. The Fireflies are a dwindling and fractured movement that merely possesses the ambition to lead without the means to effectively govern. The only logical end to the Fireflies' dreams is anarchy, and that's already shambling around outside the walls. I say this with complete sincerity. It would be a better and more effective use of time and resources for them to start methodically killing the infected one by one, because as it stands now, all they do is make life harder for the civilians who die in their terrorist attacks and starve to death because of them. Fascism isn't any better than anarchy, but to me at least, it's the lesser of two truly despicable evils. For more The Last of Us essays, here's one about who should be the protagonist of The Last of Us Part 3, and I'll be back in 2 days.